What's going on with seasoning on cast iron? What's it really there for, and why do we care so much about it? Does it make cast iron nonstick? Well, I'm not so sure about that, but I want to find out for sure. This is a number 8 BSR Century from the mid 1960s. I picked it up at an antique store for about 10 bucks, and it looks like it has about 60 years of use on it. The seasoning is thick, but it's flaky in some areas, and there's sulfur pitting on the bottom, and it's definitely got some rust issues going on. But it's not warped or cracked, and the cooking surface still looks pretty good. And with only a quick wash in warm soapy water, it handles a fried egg with ease. But is that because of the decades of seasoning that an egg and yolk are able to come off the pan so easily? Well, let's strip it down to bare iron and find out. First, I'll carefully drop the pan into a lye bath to remove the organic buildup. After forgetting about it in there for about a week, the old seasoning sloughs off pretty easily. It looks like there's some pretty deep set rust in there too, so I'm going to try to pull that out by using Evap-A-Rust. I've used it on tools before, but I've always wanted to try it out on some cast iron cookware. After a couple hours, it's looking like it's making good progress, but I think I'm going to leave it in there overnight. And judging from how dark that bath got, it seemed pretty effective. And I'll just loosen up any remaining rust with a wire brush. Now that the raw cook surface is exposed, I can see it's pretty beat up. There's lots of scratches, gouges, some sulfur pitting around the edges, and generally an uneven surface. So I'm going to smooth this out with some sanding. Just need to hook up my dust extraction, but it's not going to work. Maybe the bag? Still can't quite fit in there, so I guess we're going to have to go in unprotected. Just make sure to put that PPE on. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing this on a pan with more value or rarity, or if it has the factory machining marks on the inside, kind of those, sometimes you'll see these swirl patterns on the surface. But this pan has none of that, so we are proceeding without caution. And I'm not trying to polish the surface to a glassy mirror finish. I just want to smooth out any bumps or scratches with some medium grit sandpaper. I'll finish with some higher grit paper on a foam sanding pad to get the contours of the sides as well. And finally, I'll buff the whole pan with a wire brush to polish it up a bit and dislodge any stuck-on particles. I want to rub in a very light coat of canola oil to make sure I don't get any flash rust, as it's not going to see any kind of heat until I'm ready to cook. So I'm just going to wipe it in and let it soak, and then wipe out everything that I can. Now that the pan's been stripped down to bare metal, it's time for the testing. I'm going to run 3 tests frying an egg under progressively more difficult scenarios to see how the pan reacts. For test number 1, I'm going to give the pan the best chance I can of it letting go of the eggs by first heating it to a high temperature and adding oil before dropping the egg in. As the pan heats up to temp, you can already see it start to darken to a nice golden brown around the burner ring where it's getting the most heat. I'll let the oil get up to temperature for a moment, and then I'll drop the egg in and let it cook. So no problems so far for the pan on the first test. Let's see if we can do an egg swirl for the clicks. And let's try to flip it and see how the yolk fares. The egg yolk is so sticky, it's even used as an adhesive. And oops, just a broken yolk there for the extra challenge. But it looks like it's going to mop up nicely. And look at that. No problem for the unseasoned pan, and there's no bits or anything stuck on at the bottom either. I've now thoroughly washed out any oil and residue before test number 2, and I also haven't heated the pan in any way between these tests. So to up the difficulty, I'm only going to preheat the pan to medium temperature, and I'm also going to just apply a light coating of oil, and I'll wipe off any of the excess. And looks like the first egg is going in smoothly, and I'm going to do a second one because this is going to be breakfast for me. And again, it looks like there's no problem releasing the egg from the pan. Let's see what happens with the yolk. Looks like we got a little bit of something stuck on there, but we'll see if it comes off. Oh, yolk actually comes off pretty smoothly. And actually all of that is coming off too, so that's not stuck on at all either. And just showing you that there's nothing stuck in the pan after cooking all that up. And after a successful test number 2, I want to thoroughly clean out the pan again with some soap and warm water. And I'm even going to grab the steel wool pad and just scrape off anything that's on there, any oil or residue or anything that's starting to build up on the surface of the pan there. For the ultimate non-stick challenge, I'm going to start the egg in a completely cold pan. Now, I'm not an animal, so I will use some oil, but I'm going to wipe out everything that doesn't soak into the pan until it's completely dry looking. Burner up, pan on, and egg immediately into the pan. And I'll let this whole cook run without any edits to make sure I'm not doing anything suspicious. Make sure we got the egg centered there a little bit. That run out there of the whites might cause some trouble down the road, but we'll see. It's really getting up towards the edge of the pan, notorious for sticking over there. look at that. Even on the outer edge, the egg starting to come up cleanly. And looks like the rest of it is going to follow along from a completely cold pan. And let's try a flip and see how the yolk does. Well, that's going to come up pretty easy, looks like too. Pan's at a nice low to medium heat. Engage the flip. Ooh, not good. But that's just more of a challenge for the pan. And looks like even this most difficult scenario is going to be no problem for the pan. The egg comes off smoothly, there's no stuck on bits, and it maintains its completely non-stick status. So what to make of this? Well, for one, it seems to be completely unnecessary to build up seasoning to make a cast iron pan non-stick. And no reason to worry about even damaging existing seasoning. Just the minimal oil used in the cooking process is more than enough to coat a pan. And what about rust? Well, I left this pan out for days after stripping it down to bare metal and thoroughly washed it several times during the whole testing process, and I didn't find any rust developing on it. Just the one wipe down I did on the outside with oil seemed to be more than capable of preventing rust buildup under normal conditions. Now, would that stop the pan from rusting if you left some water in it or stored it in a humid environment? I don't know, but most older cast iron I've come across has lots of rust buildup even when they're highly seasoned. I don't think any seasoning can completely stop rust if the pan isn't maintained and stored properly. I did end up doing a couple quick rounds of seasoning in the oven on this BSR just for some peace of mind protection against rust forming on the outer surface. But I'm planning on keeping the seasoning on the cooked surface as thin and minimal as I can, and I certainly won't be worrying about achieving like a Vanta black finish, like a black hole finish that just eats up all incoming light. One thing this experiment has definitely confirmed is how bad the factory seasoning is on almost all modern cast iron, at least that which isn't crazy expensive. It's just so thick and flaky, and it seems like it's non-porous, and I'm convinced it's actually making new pans worse in almost every way. But hopefully more videos to come on that in the future.